So you've probably clicked that little blue PayPal button, right? Maybe 1,000 times. But behind that simple click is one of the wildest, most important stories to ever come out of Silicon Valley. Today, we're going to unpack how PayPal went from just an idea to a global financial giant.
But let's start with a really basic question. How do you actually do that? How do you send money to someone you've never met halfway across the world and know for sure that it's safe and it'll get there in a second? It seems so simple now, but back when the internet was just getting started, this was the problem nobody had a good answer for.
And that's not an exaggeration. Before about 1998, sending money online was a huge gamble. There were no trusted systems. You were basically just, throwing your cash into the digital wind and hoping it landed in the right place. This lack of trust was a massive wall holding back the entire idea of e-commerce.
Okay, so let's get into the origin story, because this is where it gets really interesting. PayPal wasn't born from just one company or one single idea. Nope, it was born from the fiery collision of two rival startups, each with its own brilliant vision for the future of digital money.
So on one side, you had Confinity. This was Max Levchin and Peter Thiel's company, and these guys were geniuses at security and encryption. On the other side, you had X.com, which was Elon Musk's super ambitious plan to build a complete online bank. And you know what? Both of them, completely separately, realized that the real killer app was a simple way to just email money to another person.
And the talents on these early teams was just unreal. I mean, take co-founder Max Levchin. He literally taught himself how to code back in Ukraine by writing out programs on paper because he didn't even have a computer. That kind of grit and raw brainpower was just baked into the company's DNA right from the start.
So these two rivals decided to join forces and merge in March of 2000. But, well, it was a pretty rocky marriage at first. After a lot of intense arguments about the company's direction, they made a massive bet-the-company decision. They decided to shut down all of X.com's other banking ideas and go all in on that one simple payment product that users were going crazy for. And that product would soon be renamed PayPal. So, they had this amazing product, and it was spreading like wildfire. But here's the crazy part. This brilliant idea was almost killed off before it even had a chance to grow, all thanks to an invisible, relentless enemy. This number is just staggering. In the very beginning, PayPal was bleeding millions of dollars every single month to fraudsters. We're talking organized crime rings from Eastern Europe who figured out how to exploit the system. It was an absolute crisis that was pushing the company right to the edge of bankruptcy.
So what did they do? How did they fight back? Well, they couldn't just buy some off-the-shelf software because nothing like this had ever existed before. So they had to build it themselves. Using all that brainpower in data and security, they created one of the world's very first fraud detection systems that could analyze transactions in real time. It was this insane digital game of cat and mouse, and they were inventing the rules just to stay alive.
Okay, so after surviving that first huge battle, PayPal found the absolute perfect partner to launch it into the big leagues, the unstoppable online marketplace, eBay. And this slide really shows you why it was such a perfect fit. Think about it. Most of the sellers on eBay back then were just regular people or tiny little businesses. They couldn't get a merchant account to accept credit cards. It was impossible. PayPal was the bridge. It let literally anyone with an email address send and receive money securely. It was a total game changer for them.
The connection was so obvious, so powerful that right after PayPal had its own IPO, eBay swooped in and bought the whole company for a whopping $1.5 billion. Almost overnight, PayPal became the way to pay on the world's biggest online auction house. And the effect was just immediate. You can see it right here. After that acquisition in late 2002, their user numbers and the amount of money flowing through the system just went vertical. The growth was absolutely insane, and it cemented PayPal's position as the undisputed king of online payments.
But being part of eBay, that was just one chapter in a much bigger story. After more than a decade together, PayPal was ready to break out on its own and build an even bigger empire. So in 2015, eBay spun PayPal off, making it its own independent company again. And this was a huge moment. It basically uncuffed PayPal. It was now free to chase its own destiny, to partner with anyone it wanted to, even eBay's biggest competitors, and to innovate way beyond just being a payment button for auctions.
And man, did they move fast. They went on a major shopping spree. They bought Zoom to get serious about international money transfers. They bought iZettle for over $2 billion to take on companies like Square in actual physical stores. And then, their biggest ever, they spent $4 billion on Honey to get into the world of online shopping deals and rewards. They were transforming into something much, much bigger. So with all this going on, how does the business actually make money? Well, the core model is actually pretty simple, and it's brilliant. For you and me, for most personal users, sending and receiving money is free. The real money comes from the other side. They charge merchants and businesses a small fee, just a small percentage plus a few cents, for every payment they receive.
But here's what might be the most incredible part of this entire story. PayPal's biggest legacy might not even be PayPal itself. It might just be the unbelievable group of people who built it in the first place. They're famously known as the PayPal Mafia. And this list is it's insane. The early founders and employees, they took their know-how and the money they made from the eBay sale, and they went out and created some of the most important companies of our time. I mean, look at this list. Tesla, SpaceX, LinkedIn, YouTube. It just keeps going. They literally went on to build the next wave of Silicon Valley. Now, of course, the journey hasn't been perfect. As a massive global financial company, PayPal has definitely faced its fair share of criticism over the years. Things like freezing user accounts without much warning or getting into hot water over its policies. It really just shows you how complex and difficult it is to manage money for hundreds of millions of people all over the planet. So from the wild west of the early internet to a true fintech titan, PayPal's story is really a masterclass in innovation, fighting to survive, and having a clear vision. But today, the game is totally different. They're facing intense competition from every direction. So the big question now is, after defining that first era of online money, what's it going to take for PayPal to define the next?